In this video, we are going to be talking about the conflict management analysis paper. So when you click on module 4, you'll scroll down and you'll see this conflict management analysis paper assignment. So click on that. And it will show you a template and then also instructions. So be sure, I'm going to walk through the instructions, but I just want to make sure that you read these on your own as well. And make sure that you follow how the template is formatted. So I've given you a template, but if for some reason it's not easy for you to download and use a template, just make sure to look at it and then format your paper the same way. It's not difficult to do. So just make sure that you look at both and try to make yours look exactly the same. Trying to think if there's anything else. Oh yeah, so what you'll be writing this paper on is conflict management style. So you'll be talking about a particular relationship that you have. It can be platonic, it can be a family relationship, friendship, it can be romantic, doesn't matter. But basically you're going to talk about a conflict that arose in the relationship and then how you handled it, either good or bad. But you're going to need to specifically talk about your conflict management styles, both your style and the person who was in the conflict with you, their conflict management style. So that's what this is talking about here, where it says, please read chapter 8, specifically on the conflict management style. So here are the different types that you're going to be talking about. Also, I created a lecture video for chapter 8, and it's kind of a long video, but specifically if you're kind of just wanting to look at that part about the different conflict management styles, you can go to minute 31:56 and basically watch till the end, and it's all about the different types of conflict management styles. Okay, so when you open the instructions, you will see this. And so what this is saying is that this paper needs to be a one-page paper, meaning it cannot be half a page. It shouldn't be 3/4 of a page. It should be a one-page paper. That's where a lot of points will come off. If it doesn't meet that writing requirement, that is like a lot of points off the top. So make sure you meet that one-page writing requirement. Also, it has to be single space. So you'll see the template in a second. You'll see an example in a second. So you'll see what I'm talking about, but it needs to be single spaced. And then let's see what else. Oh, it needs to have the headings, all of that. Again, we'll talk about that in a second when we look at the template. But basically you're going to be answering these questions. You're going to be giving right here, I guess, like right in this section. So you're going to be giving a brief history of the relationship, and you're going to talk about basically just who that person is to you, talk a little bit about the relationship. You do not have to give tons of detail, but just basically let us know, let me know, how close were you with this person? Is this an ongoing relationship? The conflict in the relationship? You just want to kind of give me just a brief understanding of the relationship. Then you're going to talk about both your conflict management style and the other person's usual conflict management style. Now, I understand that we might have different conflict management styles in different situations, depending upon the person or the situation. But for this paper, just talk about in this isolated conflict, what was your particular conflict management style and what was their conflict management style. And then in the next part, in this section, just make sure, like I know some points get taken off when you don't actually mention it. Like if you just say, oh, I don't really like to talk about fighting or talk to people when we're fighting, the other person kind of always tries to pursue me to make me talk about it, but I don't want to. That's just our conflict management styles. That wouldn't get you a good grade because you didn't specifically mention the conflict management styles. Does that make sense? Like you should say, in this particular situation, I was more of an avoider. Like in this particular conflict, I was more of an avoider. I tended to not want to talk about it. I would ignore it if the other person brought it up. So I avoided the situation. They, on the other hand, were more competing. They were trying to get me to do what they wanted, and it was a little bit more, not necessarily like they were trying to accommodate or they were trying to collaborate. They wanted to genuinely just win the argument. So they were more of the competing conflict management style. So do you see how I kind of did that? You might also talk about, and when you watch the video and you read the chapter, it will talk about passive aggressive tendencies or passive tendencies or aggressive tendencies. So you might also bring that in to play. Like you might say, I tend to be more of a passive personality type. So in this particular conflict, I was more of an avoider. Or you might say I was more of an accommodator. right? So you could kind of also add that in there. Then in the next section, you're going to be talking about the conflict that was experienced. So you're giving a brief understanding of that. And then the last section, you're going to be talking about, you're going to kind of discuss whether or not the conflict was handled the best way possible. And if it was, why was that? And if it wasn't, why not? And how could it have been handled better? And again, in this section, you're going to want to talk about the different conflict management styles. So again, this should be a one-page paper. This should not be a title page or anything like that. It should be written in Times New Roman 12-point font. It's not supposed to be handwritten. This is supposed to be turned in on Blackboard. And then also it needs to be free of a lot of like grammatical errors. While I'm not an English teacher, you are in college now, so you should be striving to always turn things in with correct grammar. So that being said, part of your grade is going to come from grammar or usage error. So if you end up just looking like you just wrote this real quick, you didn't revise it, you didn't look back over it, there's just tons of grammatical or usage errors, then that is something I will take off for. Okay, so this is the rubric that I will use. So you can kind of see where your points come from. So you completed it, you talked about the relationship, so you gave the brief history, a brief explanation of conflict management types, explanation of conflict, communication effectiveness, and you followed the writing guidelines. So make sure to do all those things. You can look at that in more detail on your own time. But here's a sample paper. So this is what it should look like, right? So kind of push that back a little bit so you can see. While it shouldn't say sample paper at the top, it should actually just say the name of like the conflict management analysis paper. You can see how they wrote this. So there is a double space between each section. That's okay. But you just want to make sure that each section is single spaced, if that makes sense. But you see how they labeled each section. They have relationship history, brief explanation of conflict management styles, explanation of conflict, communication effectiveness. And they go into detail in each of these sections. So in the first section, they talk about Adam Jacob is my fiance, and it talks a little bit how long they've been together. And, you know, it goes a little bit into the relationship, and not too much, but enough to give us an idea of the relationship and where it's at now. Then this person talked about their different types of conflict management styles, and they went into detail. Like they didn't just say, and please note this, I don't want you to just say, I'm more of a collaborator, they're more of an accommodator. You know, you need to tell me the why. In each section, I need to know the why. So why would you say that you're more of a collaborator or an avoider or a competitor or, you know, whatever, competer? You just need to tell me not just the what you are, but then apply why you are that and why is the other person what they are. Give examples. And then explanation of conflict. Then you go into just kind of a brief understanding of kind of the whole idea of the conflict, what happened, and then what was the result, right? So then tell us what happened in the end, or tell me what happens in the end. And tell us how it worked. And if you did it well, say that you both collaborated in the end and it was great and you did a great job. Then you can just talk about the steps you took and why that was a great process. Now, on the other hand, say it wasn't a great ending, like say that you didn't really resolve it and maybe it ended the relationship, or maybe you just both were avoiders and you just have avoided it, or whatever, however it is. In this section, you want to make sure to acknowledge how you handled the situation. Again, like talk about your conflict management styles, and then tell me how you could have improved that. How could you have done better? And which conflict management styles should you have been inspired to use, right? Trying to use. So yeah, so basically you're just wanting to tell me the why, write out the process. Don't just state what. That's the main thing, because honestly, too, if you just tell me the what, it's not going to be long enough. So make sure you go into detail with all those things, but you can kind of see this is what a paper should look like. Okay, so when you download I'll put that down. When you download the template right here, when you click on that, this is what you'll see. And so it already has like the title at the top for you. It has all the headings for you, so you have that as well. You'll just want to make sure to kind of put in here what each of these sections is asking for, and make sure to delete the instructions or the question, right? So After you want to delete this right here, what I have written in, delete that and type in what your brief history of the relationship is. So please don't leave my directions there if you're going to use this template. If you create your own template, that's totally fine. Just make sure it's written in Times New Roman, 12-point font. You're using all the headings, and each section is single spaced. That is the important part. So that is really it. Like I said, if you want so you can obviously read the book and read the part about conflict management styles and compromising and all of that, or conflict management styles on avoiding, collaborating, competing, accommodating, and compromising. And you can also watch the Chapter 8 lecture video from minutes 31:56 to 55:15, and that's going to be me doing a video going in a little bit more detail on that. So good luck on your paper. If you have any questions, let me know.